H2K Vitality are going to look to add their name to that very, very short list. Picks and bans coming out here fast and very, very quick. The Lulu, the Graves, we'll talk about the Graves in a minute, but the Braum and Poppy are also banned away. And Lucian, ooh, a lot of 80 carry. Well, 180 carry and one jungle 80 carry.
I'm expecting a lot of presence now on the 80 carry picks. Bans, as always, in this current meta. Lucian, of course, was played top lane by Cabo. Interestingly, this is the first game today that Graves has actually had priority in any game.
And it's really curious for G2 because they have never banned Graves up until this point.
Yeah.
Trick went off on it last week. Absolutely ridiculous in 2 games, had a KDA above 10, and he barely died. I mean, it tells me they definitely don't want to choose it first, and that isn't a Akali ban.
That isn't a Akali ban now. That's either a mistake, or what I think it's more likely is they just didn't want anything specific to be banned.
Yeah.
This isn't the changes. Akali changes went on to 6.3, so she has not been updated, which leaves us in a situation where 2 80 carries are available. We've had 3 very quick lock-ins. I'm going to go through them. Kalista, no surprise, they're locked in for Emperor in that 80 carry role. Mid laner and top lane flex with the 80 carry flex on the side of the Corki and the Gangplank locked in.
Yeah, and for Trick, he's going to go back to a tried and true favorite. The Nidalee is locked in, and Alistar, seen a little bit less of than in recent weeks, gets taken away, or gets taken on the board for hybrid.
This is one of the first times that we've really seen these 5 strong picks make it through the picks and bans, which is why the first 2 rotations of the draft for G2 were so quick. Is you know that you're getting 3 of these 5. For them, they've now got insane engage now with the Alistar to go alongside the poke that's going to come from this Nidalee. So very interesting setup for Vitality. They have, however, prioritized their solo laners somewhat with this double flex setup from their first 2 picks.
Oh yes, indeed. I'll see if they go for Kasing's preferred Thresh. It is as the timer goes down, and Shook gets his hands on Lee Sin, the early game champion. Still, staple pick for junglers everywhere, of course.
Yeah, has been a staple pick. For Kasing getting his hands onto Thresh into the Alistar, he typically likes this matchup. Kasing also is just a little bit more aggressive when he's on the Thresh. We've seen him on the Morgana. You can see there was the priority in the bans phase on the Braum away from Hybrid's Braum. 6 out of 8 games on Braum for him. He's been very, very strong in it. Now we get to see what he can do on an Alistar that he hasn't played yet this split.
Yeah, we'll be curious, as it has been very often actually taken away in many, many games, but obviously it's really a big pairing here with the Kalista, since we haven't seen as much Kalista today, hence the ban preference. Not going to see as much Alistar, but this game, it's all different.
This is a really interesting and kind of weird composition coming out from G2. They've got this massive engage potential with a strong early game jungler in Nidalee now, strong laner in Kalista. So what they're looking to do here is get an advantage on the bottom side of the map for their lanes, and then just go aggressive. Go in with the Malphite ultimate, go in with the Alistar from the Kalista ultimate, and try and stop Vitality in these team fights before their Corki, before their Gangplank can really get online. And Vitality have just picked themselves up another strong solo laner that typically does better later into the game.
Right.
All of their champions do have strengths in the mid game, but G2 are looking to fight far quicker than Vitality can get into this game.
I will see if Vitality can play the slow and steady game that has been how they've been able to win several of their games, but G2, a very aggressive team, a very aggressive comp, and some pretty ridiculous late game scaling of their own. It's going to be hard to do. Vitality has not been as clean of a team, as clinical of a team as G2 have been, but we know that they still have a few cracks in that samurai armor, especially in that game against H2K.
And if G2 don't really get things rolling fairly quickly, Vitality have exceptionally strong side lanes. Gangplank and Fiora are 2 of the best champions to put in a side lane, because as soon as they get ahead, it's very difficult to actually fight them. So Malphite can only contain the Fiora for so long. This could be a real interesting game if Vitality can set the map up for themselves.
Young Buck and Sean shake hands to walk off the stage, but with those compositions all lined up, you see it on your screen there. Let us know what you think. Who's going to take this one away? A hype clash between G2 and Vitality. So why don't you get online and tweet at LOL eSports is the place. Hashtag G2 win. Hashtag VIT win. We're about to see who's going to take away the win. Let's see who it's going to be. Let's get onto the rift.
Let's get onto the rift indeed, Pyro, because This is the kind of game that I look at and I'm like, this should be a great game macro-wise, just like our first game of the day between H2K and Unicorns, and then it devolved into team fights all the time. So,
be careful what you wish for,
hey,
Stress.
I am happy with an entertaining game. It doesn't have to be the most crisp game of League of Legends to be a fun game at that. So maybe we'll see that with this Alistar, with this Malphite, a team composition that so desperately wants to fight. But Vitality want to invade right now, and they want to get some vision down.
4 members, so they've left Nuke Duck in the middle.
30 seconds.
Won't be able to clear that ward out, but they're just going for some placements. You can already see Emperor on the other side of it. Emperor, by the way, on this Kalista, he has definitely had a solid start. Not dropped a game on it. Obviously, G2 have not dropped many games, period, but when you're able to rock an 8.5 or 8.2 KDA on a champion consistently over 3 games, it's definitely not a bad start for Emperor. He's been going off.
Yeah, he has been going off, and that's the most interesting thing for me about G2 when I look at this team from what they came from Challenger. They've changed a bit of their style up. They actually have legitimate threats from multiple lanes.
Yeah.
I mean, we have seen an improvement from Kikis. This game, he's not going to be so much of a threat when it comes to damage and carry potential. But obviously, from his ability to start and engage. Very interesting what Vitality doing up in the top side. Hyanan and Kasing are waiting for the ward to expire, hopefully. Or, no, it's actually for the wave to push past. So now at this point, they're locked into the lane setups. Because the ward, typically, when you ward deep like this, you're looking to get it way past the point at which the minion crosses. So it kind of survives until that 2-minute mark. So at this point, they've locked themselves into this lane swap situation. So G2 didn't have the time to rotate around, didn't have the information.
They will start off with their AD carry soloing, actually, in the top side for just a moment, as Kasing goes on a bit of a roam mission. He's not going to be able to do much about that blue buff being taken by Trick and Kikis, and he does get the timer available on it, no problem, getting some early vision and getting some free farm for Yarnan in the top side, as Emperor's effectively doing the same thing that Kasing's actually getting really annoying here, but we'll see if he steps too far forward as Trick and Kikis. There's the flash out.
Way overcommitting on that invade there. Kasing even used the flay, so makes sure that he has nothing available for G2 to actually stop. Cabo's going to teleport bottom. Because of the way the jungle pathing was disrupted, it means G2 can't actually safely set up a dive in that 30 seconds to 45 seconds time window. So Cabo can very easily accept this wave. Bottom lane isn't forced away from the tower and should be okay here.
So all of that worth for that flash?
Well, we'll
That's
give it
question.
3 minutes.
Okay, I got my stopwatch
so
on now.
if Kasing dies before that flash is up and then G2 snowball from it, not worth. However, if Cabo now gets a lot of farm, is able to get the added experience, and Kasing doesn't get punished, then it'll be worth for Vitality.
Keep an eye on Trick, see if he decides to try and even the odds a little bit, as Hybrid gets the knock-up and
no flash.
into the tower, no flash, exhaust, tanking tower shots, definitely not worth.
Yeah.
First blood for Kikis.
I mean, it's read like a book. You've got a Thresh with no flash. You know he's only got Flay. He can't shield himself, can't get himself out. And that right there is the ripple effect.
Dude, you don't expect the cows. Surprise cows are the worst. Just ask Rivington.
Hybrid's been up there for a while. Like, Hybrid actually just walked up there. It wasn't as if that's the first time he appeared, but Hybrid uses his flash to get the kill. The flash for the kill, totally worth it in that situation.
Trying to misfires onto the minion, but already damage was done. Emperor and Cabo dueling out just a little bit. Kalista on her own this time around, but Emperor has proven to be quite an adept AD carry here in Europe. Quite a long storied history for him. He's been bouncing around quite a bit, but he definitely seems to have found a comfortable home on this G2 eSports squad.
Certainly has. I mean, not too much more to look at from that when you look at the success that they've been having recently. Very impressive as a setup. Teleport used mid lane by Nuke Duck, of course. Gangplank is just going to want to try and farm. The Victor lane will harass him down, but Gangplank will just make sure he gets his fruit and vegetables, eat those oranges, heal himself up, teleport back into lane, no problems after being healed by the Phantom as well. So it's going to be tough to force Nuke Duck out this early on a Victor, but it's also going to be tough to push a Victor back the later this game goes.
Yeah. They gave Farfest for the time being, but really want to keep track of these side lanes. Kasing giving that first blood meant that Kikis is already going to have a little bit of an advantage over Cabo, who already had to back and is moving back up. You see Hybrid now in this bottom side, so it's 3 members versus the 2. but Kikis is looking to come around, and they know it, so that is going to be tower number 1 to G2 eSports, out-rotating Vitality.
Yeah, G2 on the play very quickly there. For Kikis, that kill will make it a lot easier for him to sit in the side lanes now and look to teleport across, because predominantly the damage that'll be coming in the side lanes will be AD. Will be that attack damage that's going to come from the Fury or from the Gangplank. Of course, both will have ways of getting through the armor as the later this game goes. So armor will be kind of effective, but still, as the game goes later, Malphite's like, oh, okay, it's not so useful anymore. You've got true damage and the ability to bypass with armor pen. But still, it's a nice start for it before Vitality get to the strong point.
Not to mention, he'll have a little bit more damage and harassment potential if he finishes that Frozen Fist a little bit earlier on. As we've seen, the one offensive item that the Malphites tend to go for. Back to the mid lane, still very even trades as we expected, but when those two come online, it will be a bloodbath. Meanwhile, we've gone back to the regular Australia lanes that we have been used to seeing so often. International League here. Cabochard pushing Kikis back just a little bit to even the farm game up.
Yeah, it's basically OPL in here right now. We're missing some hand puppets, unfortunately, though, but...
Yeah, lost in the mail.
It wouldn't be Jungle Week without a quintessential champion for Shook. That being the Lee Sin. Very old-school pick for him, known as a Lee Sin player, but it hasn't swayed the fan vote. Vitality fans only coming out 34%. G2 got themselves a good following. Let's see if Shook can make anything happen in the top lane.
Looks for hybrid. The Sonic Wave does not want to go in, or does he? Gets knocked up, and all of a sudden Trick around the other side. Already a signature champion for him as well, but it is Hybrid who looks to be going down. They don't finish the damage. Instead, they turn to Emperor, and Kasing picks up the kill credit. Another Sonic Wave does not connect onto Trick, but for the time being, Vitality even the score.
Emperor pathed himself into the fight, and then Kasing managed to keep on top of him and make sure he didn't get completely away from that fight. Looked like Vitality were trying to starting to second guess themselves when Trick appeared, but just turned out that Emperor walked towards him.
Chaos Storm minion clear.
Hey, let's go push their minions. It's a minion disco.
It'll be back up soon enough.
Yeah,
Gets that
exactly.
clear off. Perkz is definitely that guy who is never afraid to just blow an ultimate. Very confident, but he has had the results to back it up. His Victor in particular, we thought when he came in initially, maybe there's just going to be a lot of assassins, but then he brought in the Corki mid and made a name for himself on that. But, you know, it's easy enough to, with all the success, to forget how well he's done on Victor, one of his most successful champions in only one game.
Yeah, I mean, the funniest thing to me is that all the champions that Perkz has played so far have not been champions that from Challenger last year I would associate with Perkz.
Doing it just to mess with you.
Well, no, I don't mean it like that. I mean it in a very positive way, because it means I look at the champions that we'll yet to see from him because the meta's not there. Like the likes of Azir, the likes of a Jace that we saw from him so many games last year. Because they're not the top tier picks, he has this depth of a champion pool that is still yet to be discovered in an LCS game because he hasn't needed to play them. So it's great to see such a young talent come in and make a name so quickly for himself.
You mid laners, man. He has not had to exhaust those depths yet, and it'll be scary for his opponents when the meta does shift that direction, seeing how multidimensional he can be. But Nuked up against him so far seems to be up to the challenge. As we've said before, it is definitely a much more farm-emphasized mid lane. A lot of wave clear on this Vitality side. I'm curious to see how they put it to use, and let's see what Hjarnan can do once he hits his Trinity Force, but that's still a ways off.
Yeah, I wonder what'll happen when he gets that, because they have that very defined point between a Gangplank and a Corki. It's like if there ever was an obvious time the Vitality are want to stand together and sit in front of your turret, it'll be that. But G2 have Perkz on Victor to clear it out. Already has Lucidity Boots, already has his Hex Core upgrade. Those are the two parts that makes a Victor incredibly difficult to push through.
Yeah, I remember back about 2 seasons ago when that duty was given to Ziggs. I would like to see that when the new patch drops in LCS. I was an old Ziggs main, for the record. That's how I got gold.
Maybe we'll see Prolly back on the stage.
Yeah, he was talking about it on Twitter the other day. I'm excited. Nuketox still able to clear these ones away, dodging those lasers out. The blue buff helping out. But I want to talk about Hjarnan again, because this guy, he started the split when they were back on H2K last year. He started the split with Voidal, and he looked fairly, I won't say meh, but all right. Then Kasing came in, and the Kasing effect happened not just for the whole team, but for Hjarnan, he got turned into this Hulk hyper carry, especially on like Sivir and Jinx. Kalista too, but you know, it just doesn't seem like he's been as comfortable this split.
Yeah, he's certainly stepped up in his mid lane. G2 looking for it. easily able to get away. I think it's very interesting. I think it was Kasing talking last week when we had him on the analyst desk. He was talking about how much Gianna used to talk when he initially joined the team. And I think it's that big change that when you don't have to do so much in the way of shot calling and you can rely on the rest of the team, it changes your ability to impact the game from just your role. And honestly, that's what we started to see a little bit of regression with Reckless from Fnatic. When you look at his performance on Fnatic, how much he had to shot call, he's still finding his feet doing both roles, and it's difficult to do both.
My excuse when I play ADC with my friends. I can't shot call guys in AD carrying.
But in this game, we've obviously seen a complete different change from that. From H2K now into Vitality, Vitality have a lot of strong voices. You've got the likes of Kasing, you've got Shook, you've got Cabo, you've got Nukeduck, all people that talk a fair amount during the game. So it's definitely not a problem that Canon has to deal with these days.
Oh boy, do you have Cabo. He has been shining in very unconventional champions for his role. The Graves he brought out, the Lucian he played against Elements last week, absolutely insane. But on traditional carries like Fiora, not as much success as he goes in on Kikis right here. There's the parry. Kikis taking a little more, but the Grand Challenge is out. Cabo hits 2 vials. Can he get any more? The minions are going at it as well. Cabo very low in this. Kikis might have a chance. That Iceborne Gauntlet, man, it burned.
Man, Kikis nearly clapped Cabo to death at that point. This is... Man, it's so difficult to deal with a Malphite this early on with a Fiora that's behind. Like, Malphite is just such a difficult entity because you don't expect him to deal a lot of damage. Then you realize he has an attack speed debuff, he has that damage extra that comes on the AoE that he does. Man, so frustrating to deal with. But Cabo will reach a point the later this game goes that he can actually deal with the Malphite. So Kikis has a fair amount of time in his mind right now.
I think that point might be Ravenous Hydra. We'll have to see. Still, Kikis is definitely holding strong, as you said. Going back to the top lane, it's still been a wave clear fest, but again, this is Vitality's way to play. They like to slow the game down. Obviously, they've got some later game scaling. Yarnan is on a very safe, very optimal pick for mid and AD carry at the moment, and he'll still be relevant even in the late game. So I feel like they're not in any rush, and that just seems to be Vitality's MO.
Yeah, that seems to be the case. And, you know, the kill onto Emperor really slowed this game down for G2. G2 were very confident of the way they were fighting early, or at least would have looked to have set up fights. The problem is, Emperor was a fairly sizable part of that in the early game. Perks obviously running heal, not running teleport from the mid lane, as the changes to teleport a while ago have made it slightly less, you know, of a good pick. Nukeduck, not phased by that, wants to play the side lane game, doesn't really have to stay in mid the entire game as well. He's got his ult to clear it out. Perks' objective is sit mid, don't let your tower go. So it means that G2, when picking their early game fights, weren't able to bring everybody up to help Emperor out, and Emperor ends up dying in that 3v3, really slows them down to set up the next set of fights.
Yeah, for Vitality, they move their way into this G2 jungle, looking for as many wards as they possibly can. And now, Trick is backing. Pink warded that brush. They know he's not going to be there. Yarnan with the package is moving on down. Looks like Rift Herald is on the menu for Vitality. So they will trying to be pushing out the waves while everyone will be away. But they actually back off here as they realize G2 have stopped their recalls. Right back to it. A little bit of indecision from both teams. Still, very close game. Only 400 gold separates the two at 13 minutes in.
Yeah, it's actually because Vitality read or saw that Hybrid had recalled as well. So regardless of exactly whether there were the pink wards and the wards around, it just meant that Vitality had the read that this is a tower that they can take, or they can't even get it at this point. Hybrid's here.
Yeah, Hybrid is making the plays and a massive knock-in. Emperor with the pick onto Yarnan, and Shook nearly eats it too. And Trick wants to make sure of it. A pounce, a swipe, a kill, and now Kasing is in some serious trouble. Chaos Storm's down. Perks wants it. Add that KDA, baby. Gets ignited for his trouble, but a 3 for none.
Perks had to get that kill for the roam. He had to make it worth it because Nukeduck is busy pushing mid lane. This is one of the very few opportunities Vitality would get to push this mid lane out. They won't get the tower for it because the rest of G2 are coming down, but that was what G2 needed to do overall, was get the numbers to the top lane and start that fight. And it's exactly what they needed from the ultimate that came from Kalista. It's so difficult for Vitality to actually disengage from this kind of fight. Look, Emperor, he's positioning far enough forward that he's safe and catches two. Hybrid catches Yarnan and Shook at this point. Kasing cannot save his carry, and Shook can basically just try and run away. Problem is, G2 can catch up with him so quickly.
Where did that damage on Yarnin come from? That was ridiculous. And then Perks just said, it's mine. I got it. No one else touch it. So a bunch of G2 members managed to pick up a whole bunch more kills. They bring that gold difference way up in their favor. 3,000 ahead now. Nukeduck just couldn't quite polish off the turret. Kikis is on the bottom side tier 2. He pushes that out and lets Cabo come and absorb it as it's bouncing back against. Vitality, in one stroke, they are in a lot of trouble here.
And G2 got more than just those kills from that passage of play. Look at the vision they got topside jungle. 3 wards, a pink ward deep into the enemy jungle. Now they go into the bottom side jungle, take away the jungle camps, and put wards down as well. Trick even is going to take away the rest of the wolves. Wondering, didn't have the smite available, so doesn't get the rift, the wolf spirit at this point, but nevertheless, just that one play from G2 puts them right back into this game, puts them well ahead of the play, because now Vitality have to be careful traveling through their own jungle. Perks is caught though.
Yep, he got sideways insect as Perks will try to answer back kill for kill, but Shook and Nukeduck combined were just too much for him.
That, however, was Perks stepping too far up the map when the rest of his team had pulled back from the map. Trick had gone down and out of the jungle, as had Kikis, so Perks didn't have anybody to group with him.
Public safety announcement? Don't do that. Vitality.
That's not a good announcement, Pirate.
You gave the context,
No, what
right?
I'm saying by that is, imagine a sign that's like, don't do this. It's like, what's
It
this?
covers all your bases.
Yeah.
Vitality are taking some of their own here.
I guess you're not liable. You did
No, that's true. All about the liability. So, 4 members of Vitality on the bottom side looking to push in this tower. Kasing takes a couple of tower shots as the wave goes in, and then Nukeduck in the mid, goes back up top to defend. They're trying to turn the swing around, but Kikis gets a massive knockup. Unstoppable force. The challenge is on, but he is holding just for a moment. Taken out. Tower still gone. Tried to defend, but no one else there. Nukeduck looking for Emperor now. Ooh. Great proc on the Blade of the Ruined King to save his life there.
Yeah, Nukeduck knew he had the damage to get the kill, but if he could only catch up, that was the key difference. Had his flash available, but you know, Nukeduck's in a fairly strong point right now. But Vitality, with that play bottom lane, forced G2 to try and defend without the entirety of their team, and there was no way to really hold that bottom lane tower. G2 a little behind on that play. Vitality have swung this game back into their favor.
Still holding firm. The barrels from Nukeduck, stopping Hybrid and Emperor from advancing any further forward. You can see all Vitality. They hadn't backed for a while, too. Cabochard only now picks up his Ravenous Hydra, but he was sitting on a lot of gold to make it happen.
And right there, you can see the fundamental problem that G2 are going to have the further this game gets. Vitality can clear their waves so effectively. Between Corki, the Gangplank, and then the Gangplank ultimate in the 3rd wave makes it so difficult for G2 to actually push. 2 people got deterred just by Nukeduck in that top lane right there. So it just highlights the issue that G2 are going to have to overcome by fighting. They have to somehow orchestrate fights, get the vision control, and have Vitality come towards them, or even somehow try and Baron bait. The problem is Blue Trinket makes that so difficult.
Well, Vitality just drafted so well to avoid fights. I mean, you see the double teleport, the split push ability, Cabochard on Fiora, Nukeduck on Gangplank. So many power picks that were given over, but G2, they've got a few power ones of their own, but they just need to force it.
Yeah, I mean, G2 will have to try and find an opening where Vitality maybe only have 1 teleport available, can't sit in the 2nd side lane, and then you engage on the 4, and the fight's over before it ever starts, and the teleport is just too late. The Malphite ultimate is a prime example of that, with the teleport being available. You can kick the fight off very quickly if you're the one coming into the fight first, but it's difficult to do right now. With the way vision control works, the ability to deny areas of vision is fairly difficult. You have to buy so many pink wards, bait out the blue trinkets a bunch of times, and try and just reduce any kind of warding that your enemy has. It can be quite tough.
Yes, indeed. So Vitality, for the moment, controlling that momentum, but that ship has swung back and forth a couple of times this game already. Yarnin's still sitting on that package, but they will not be keen to start a fight with only 3 in the middle. It is all about the side lanes. Right about now, close to 20 minutes. Baron will be taking up his home in just a sec. We'll see what Perks is able to do. He's gone for the little slower build. The Rylai's Crystal Scepter gives him a bit more survivability, a bit more slowdown. See if they can get these cats.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about if you hit 1 laser, if you hit 1 Q, you get to slow the rest of the team engaged. Like, that is pretty much Perks' role now, apart from clear mid, is try and land a slow on somebody, and then the team can assess whether it's a good situation to go.
Dodging around those spears, so Baron will be an objective to take in a little bit, but not quite yet while everyone's still on the map. The Rift Herald buff still ticking strong onto Trick. And the two top laners once again engaging in Mortal Kombat. This time it's Cabo Shard who takes a little bit more damage off the back of it, but he gets the wave cleared away. Trick will be joining, trying to get the counter jungle on, but you see what Nukeduck's doing in the top side, solo pushing. He's going to force it back.
Yeah, and I apologize to any Vitality fans that maybe love lots of fights and fast, energetic gameplay, which we're about to get some, actually, because Vitality, to win this game, are looking to act like a boa constrictor, but they're getting forced into fights now.
Yep, see if they can bite the snake and take its head off, because Singh is going to have to flash away as he throws the box down for a retreat, but Shook kicks Emperor, and he's going to get blown up. Cabo Shard finishes the job, but they're on the wrong side of this one, and they're getting knocked up. Shook and Cabo around the back. Trick is hooked by Kasing. Who's going to win this one? Cabo manages to get away. Shook goes in, goes to him, goes down to Trick, and Harden's around the side. Shutdown goal over to Nukeduck, and all of it's done. Not quite yet, as Kikis is played back, hooked up, locked down. It is a 3-for-1.
And somehow, someway, Vitality with pinpoint precision find their way onto Emperor. You can see Shawns is happy with that engage as well. They find Emperor again. The second time in this game that a fight has been decided with a quick pick on the AD carry. An AD carry pick of Kalista that is normally fairly safe in these fights gets found out and taken out instantly. And it's all because Emperor, I was going to say, is stretching for an engage here, but he actually isn't. It's only when the rest of his team go up and away from him, Emperor runs down because he doesn't want to have to deal with Shook. I feel like Emperor, that the communication just wasn't there, that the team was going north, he was going east, right into Cabo Shard and Shook. From there, it's easy cleanup because G2 don't quite have the damage at this point to output anything against his Vitality squad.
And the rest is, as they say, history. Yeah. Emperor having, in all honesty, the worst game of the split. It's the caster curse again, I'm telling you, man. We just start singing his praises, and he goes 1-2.
Yeah, I mean, even in that fight, you could see Perks was full health, and it was because Vitality were ignoring him. The reason for that is he had no mana. He had like one more ability to throw out, and the rest of Vitality are like, well, he's not a problem if he can't cast his abilities.
Yeah. You know, in this game too, like Vitality bringing out all the stops here is so important for them because this is a team that had very high expectations of itself, a very popular presence for the fans, and had a few rough games. In all honesty, yes, they're sitting at 5-3, but they have not beaten a top of the table or a top 5 team in the league. If you look at the standings as they are, since week 1, when they took out Fnatic. They've definitely beating other ones. We'll take a look at that in a minute because G2 want to start it off, and they look for Shook, they look for Yarden, get a big knockup. Can they force the fight? Trick jumping in, Trick jumping back. The cannonballs are raining down, and they've got to watch for Cabo Shard. Yarden picks up a kill in the back of it. G2 can't get it done.
Oh man, Cabo's on the bottom side as well, though.
Stopping the ports.
They've stopped one of the recalls just on the Nidalee, but Cabo is looking to just push through. Another engage, and you can see the global presence coming out from Vitality. That's the tower down. Cabo doesn't need to push further for the inhibitor, and he can back away now.
All of a sudden, Vitality are turning up the volume. G2 look to contest this Baron. Only 2 members on it, Nukeduck and Yarden, a little bit low. In comes Kasing with the hook. Shook going in around the backside, a little bit low here. This is going to be dangerous. Trick is coming in. Can he get the steal? Tries for it. Nope. Doesn't get it. Shook secures it up. And now the fight is on. They get the shutdown. Trick will be able to take out Yarden, but in the meantime, the rest of them are running away. Shook manages to take the lantern out to safety. Nukeduck pops the barrel, avoids the spear. They lose 1. That's a bargain deal.
Bargain deal for the Baron. Kikis still not up for this defense that's going to come up. We'll be up in about 20 seconds time. Interestingly enough, before that fight, before that series of fights, the difference in damage between the AD carries was pretty significant. I mean, Emperor was only at about 4k damage to Hyanen's 10k. Like, it was just an insane situation where Hyanen is always outputting damage, and Emperor hasn't been able to. He's not been able to get in the fights because he's either been dead before they start, or just gets picked off pretty quickly. On the other side, it's a Corki on Hyanen. He's poking. You would assume he has a lot of damage, but it just highlights the difference, how quickly Emperor got shut out of this game to begin with.
Yes, indeed. Emperor has been having a really hard time in this game. But Vitality, they're definitely having a great one. 7,000 gold in the lead for them. They can knock off G2 here. It makes a very powerful statement, shooting them up the standings a bit more.
It does. And you can see the game plan from Vitality now has transitioned into the itemization. What was a Ravenous Hydra on Cabo Shard has been swapped out for the Titanic. Of course, there is now no exchange cost, so you can just trade them. They're like any kind of trading cards. You just go, oh, give me one, I'll give you yours, and I hope it's not a short-change deal at that point. But Cabo Shard just wants that extra tankiness, wants to be able to survive, and as long as these side laners survive, Kikis realistically can't kill a Fiora at this point on a Malphite, so he just needs to sit there and now push forward.
Is the key to starting those fights for them, and he had one good one early on, but it's looking more and more dire now. He sends out the Shard, doesn't do a whole lot against Cabo.
See what you did.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I wanted to just drop it, so it's alright.
Okay.
Inhibitor going down. No, it's alright. Inhibitor's not quite done yet. G2 are trying to hold this defense, but they are finding themselves in a very unfamiliar situation. One that they haven't been in since they played off against H2K. This would be only their second loss in the split right now. And a lot of people had questions between H2K and G2, who would be kings of Europe since Fnatic hasn't quite been there yet. Well, Vitality are making a statement for themselves, but we'll see. Teleport, and all of a sudden, that's the wrong direction, Kikis. He finds Cabo in the jungle. The fight is going on 3 fronts right now. Absolute insanity here. And Trick is low. Cabo trying to lunge his way forward for a kill. Hybrid is the slow cow, and he is going not down yet. Trick gets kicked into his own towers. Just Hybrid goes down after all the chaos. The inhibitor follows him. Oh, man.
They just cannot keep up with this high damage composition from Vitality. Fiora, Gangplank, Corki, even Lee Sin is providing extra damage. He's gone the Warriors route. And it just means that any target that's out of position, anybody that's squishy, even the Nidalee right now, she's going AP. Yes, she's got a Rod of Ages, but she's not there with the Zhonya's yet. It means whoever gets caught by the Gangplank just gets removed from the fight instantly. Trick was on like 20% of his health at the beginning of that fight, and he just had to back away.
Duck with another solid performance on Gangplank. Gangplank, when he's been led through, very few times has that been a liability for teams that managed to pick him up. But Vitality now with a 9,000 gold lead, 8 towers to 3. They're picking up everything around the map, and G2 are getting squeezed themselves.
Yeah, and Newduck's in such a good position right now. He's just picked up his Maw of Malmortius, which is basically like, well, your Callista isn't really doing anything to me. It's only your Nidalee and your Victor that's going to do anything. So I'm going to pick up my Magic Resist. I'm going to make sure that whenever anybody does start to burst me, I'm going to return the damage and heal some of it back up. Yeah. So Newduck should be in a good position himself. At this point, it's so difficult for G2 to actually come back in this game without that teleport from Kikis. And we just saw Kikis teleport and then run away because he had no opening. He couldn't find enough people to engage on.
Yeah. Well, you're starting to see mistakes happen, become a part of the scene. It has been rare for this G2 team, but the Vitality, they issued one hell of a grand challenge, and G2 have not been able to step up to the plate. 28 minutes and counting. Vitality are trying to close the noose on this one. 2 inhibitors down, looking for number 3. Desperation mode for G2. What can they do to try and salvage this one?
Right now, they actually have to pretty much hope Perks can just wave clear this tower without having to go anywhere else on the map and hunker down. Otherwise, they have to give the tower. Yeah. If they can't hold this with just Perks and 2, then this tower is already gone. So they hold a couple of waves here, and they will be able to do it for now. It just depends on whether Cabo, whether the rest of Vitality once could swing around to the middle lane as well.
Cabo's still there.
Still causing a problem.
Kikis is going very low in all of this. With the 3-man defense might be successful.
Perks backed away. Perks backed away. That's the key thing. When this minion wave joins, if Perks isn't there, he's just about there. Okay.
Oh, but the Gangplank ulti. They have to move out of this one. Might give just enough cover fire for them to be able to take down the inhibitor. No, it's not going to be. The Fate's Call is out. Trick sends A big one flying, and Kasing is caught up inside of his own box. Chaos Storm is on him, not quite going down yet, but he finally will burn away. Perks picks him up on the backside of it, but it is still G2 on the retreat path. Cabo is still on the bottom side. They're not doing enough about him. That Fiora's just too big. There's the Malphite ultimate from Kikis, but it's not going to be enough. They defend the inhib, but they lose a Nexus turret, and now they might lose that inhib again.
Yeah, at this point, Vitality are ramping their push up now. They know that Cabo is doing critical damage.
Critical damage indeed, and Nukeduck with a critical hit. That's the last inhibitor. Vitality have taken everything but the base here. Perks and Kikis with Trick, desperation, trying to defend this. Emperor comes up. They may not end it right here, right now, but man, is it all but over. Cabo, Grand Challenge doesn't do enough. Yarnan trying to stand strong, and Nukeduck covering with the barrel, but he's a little bit out of position. Has to burn that flash. He'll come back in for round 2 soon.
Man, I think, did Nukeduck just like reaction put a barrel down as it was exploding? Something hit really huge on to some of the G2 members there. I didn't quite catch exactly what interaction did it, but 200 or 300 damage easily went onto him. But nevertheless, Vitality backed themselves away. For G2, they just don't have enough bite left in their composition outside of this Victor. They have one last hope in the fact that Kikis has his teleport available, has his ultimate coming up very shortly, as is the Chaos Storm. There is still the potential for one last fight from G2 with all of this engaged potential. If Vitality make a mistake and stack in the entrance to a Baron Pit in an area like that before they can get the buff, there is the potential for this fight. They've hooked in Trick.
They turn it around.
Is there.
Looking for Trick. There's the teleport, but will he survive in time? There's a 3-man knock-up and a knockback. Yarnan's just a bit out of it, but he's quirky, so he's fine. G2 Trick, a little bit in trouble there. Goes down on the back. Emperor can't do much, but pull his support back in. Cabochard with an answering kill, or rather Cabochard with the 1 kill on the board so far. Nukeduck answers with another, and they're dropping like flies. Emperor desperately hopping back to his base, but with only Hybrid here and him to defend, this has got to be it. No inhibitors left on the board. Knock that gangplank away, he'll come right back falling. The inhibitor actually did come up, but it really doesn't matter. Way too many waves here, way too much pressure. Vitality have done it. They've cracked the armor. They've taken down G2 for only the 2nd time in the spring split.
That game from Vitality had a purpose, and they even got gifted a little bit of an early game play that I don't think they were expecting onto Emperor.
I like the game, but everyone's fucking cold. Fucking good.
Silent but happy victory for that team. Very, very unexpected for G2, but Vitality will take it, and they have answered the question. I said earlier they weren't able to knock off any upper table team in the league since week 1, but they have definitely changed that. Still all smiles on the G2 eSports side. Still very close to that top of the table, but Vitality are joining them very fast.
Oh man, that's going to be a real difficult game for G2 to swallow, because, I mean, theoretically their composition for fighting should have gone fairly well. They should have found the fights. The problem was Vitality kept weaving their way through and denying half of the damage that G2 really had in that setup. I mean, you rely on the Callista until the Victor can really kind of take out everybody else. So to put that in perspective for you, for the damage done by champions, 7 people did more damage than Emperor. Only the supports did less damage than the AD carry. And it's not Emperor's fault in every single fight. Some Vitality just found him, but certainly it was just G2 not being able to keep their AD carry alive, their AD carry not being in the right position.
First game in recent memory that Emperor has not gotten off to a flying start.
Yeah.
Yarnan was able to do his job. Everyone on that team really clicked and came together, and they have much to be happy for. Speaking of damage, though, I mean, you forgot one key thing, and that's Gangplank. Off the charts damage. He's able to do just so much. And this is, again, Vitality played their game, and G2 didn't give it to him willingly, but they let go on the tug of rope, and then it was all of a sudden 30 minutes, 40 minutes, oh, wait, we're dealing with Gangplank.
Yeah.
And a ridiculous amount of damage. So that was it. And a Fiora.
It's the moment where your Malphite runs away after TPing that you know there's an issue.
All right, with all that said and done for us, we're going to kick it over to the analyst desk for a closer look.